Welcome back, everyone. A lot of the clients that I work with are working on self-growth, self-development. And it would make sense that they would look into a coach's services if that is what they're looking to do. Maybe we use the word level up. They're trying to level up. They are working on themselves. And I have always been, especially I would say in my late 30s, early 40s, I really went on a self-growth journey. And it's a little scary to take that on because you really do have to get raw and real with yourself about some areas that you need to grow up and you need to make changes. And this really is what a lot of my clients do that work with me. It's not often that we work on one specific area, but when a lot of my clients fill out their self-improvement coaching form and they list in order the areas they would like to make change, it's always growing in a direction. And in coaching, sometimes I use the analogy of a house. If you live in an area where you have a basement, a hole is dug, walls are poured, and a basement is created. And then above the basement is the subfloor. And then from there, the house gets built up. A lot of people, a lot of clients, just even in my audience, a lot of people use the word stuck. They feel stuck in an area or areas of their life. And that's essentially like still being in the basement where the poured walls are. You have to have a subfloor to be able to build above it. So I don't create the goal for my clients. They share with me what the goal is, and I help support them as they do the work to get there. But we have to have a subfloor first. And then from there, we can build. And don't feel ashamed if you're late to the party. A lot of men and women do not work on their self-growth and self-development until a little bit later than what you would expect because they're so busy just living their life and making ends meet that they don't really have time to sit down and reflect. And this is a big thing that I see with women my age, that husband is still working. Maybe mom or the wife is no longer working, or maybe she was a stay-at-home wife and mom, and now the kids are grown and gone, and I guess you could call that middle-aged, and she is struggling. She now wants to know her purpose. She now wants to do something with her life, right? It's because we're so busy doing the thing that we don't have time to sit back and say, what do I want to do with my life, and who do I want to be? And when you decide who you want to be, you have to get raw and real with yourself to see where you're coming from, who you were, right? If I want to be this, I have to look at who I am today and where I'm coming from. And that's part of the self-growth journey. But what happens in the self-growth journey is your standards change. And the more you build, once you have your foundation and you start building, your standards for yourself change. If your standards haven't changed, you're probably a wannabe. You're probably someone who wants self-growth, but you're not really putting the work in to get there. Because when you start putting the work in, your standards for yourself will change. Here's the caveat. You know there's going to be one. And not too long ago, I did a video on it's okay to outgrow people who aren't growing. It's okay to outgrow people who aren't growing. You're going to want to watch that video because it really ties in with the message today. The downside or caveat to self-growth in upping your game with higher standards of yourself is you will have higher standards, you will expect higher standards from others, which may make you realize someone no longer works for you. I'll share with you that this video is actually inspired by a client who has been married for quite some time, not as long as Paul and me, but she's done work to grow. She's done the self-growth work, and she's working with me to continue that trajectory. But what she's finding is as she's growing and her standards for herself have increased and are higher, and she's expecting those same standards from other people, she's finding that her spouse no longer really matches her and meets her. And this is really frustrating. So there is that caveat, there is that downside, because as you up level, as you increase your worth of who you are, how you see it, you will expect the same, and not everyone is on that journey. And you can't force that journey on anyone. You can want it and wish it all day long, but just like anything in life, that person has to want it, right? You could want someone to get healthier, but if they don't want it, it won't happen. And that's why I always say, stay in your lane, stay in your box, because really you are the only one that you can do the work with. But what happens is other people that aren't coming with you as you're building because they're still at the subfloor, or maybe they're in the poured walls in the ground. You find out there's a disconnect. You find out that you're no longer compatible. Happens all the time. Sadly, it happens in relationships, long-term relationships like marriage. And that's where it gets really tricky. Now, I can't tell you what to do if you can resonate with what I'm sharing with you today, and maybe you're in a similar situation as my client where you're leveling up and you've been on the self-growth track and your spouse is not, and it's starting to show. While that's very unfortunate, that's going to require probably some outside help, which would love to work with you. But this can happen in friendships as well, and often the ladies that are my age now and they've been working on themselves because they're done raising the children and the husband's still working, and now they have the time to figure out what they want to do, what is my purpose, and how can I live it? They're on this self-growth journey, and they're also finding that a lot of their friends aren't compatible with them anymore. And this is really hard, and sometimes my clients will even judge themselves because they feel they're judging others. And we have to coach around that. Are you truly judging? Or are you just finding that we're no longer compatible? What they like to do is not what I like to do. I'm into health and wellness. I'm into spiritual retreats. I'm into my family. I'm into connection. I'm not into this. I'm not into that. I'm not into shopping and material things and going out and getting a drink. Your standards have changed. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Self-growth looks like that. This can also come with family members. It's not uncommon for me to hear how I'm kind of growing away from my family, and now they want to know what exactly is boundary setting. You know, boundary setting is a big word, and it's there for a purpose. I support it. Boundary setting is healthy. It's healthy boundaries. It doesn't need to be negative. But the people that have issues with boundary setting are the ones that have no boundaries for themselves, and they probably are still at the subfloor or living in the poured walls in the ground, because they're not building up their walls. So it makes complete sense that if you're going in one direction and someone's not moving with you, there's going to be a disconnect, and you have to recognize that. The key is finding out what you want to do with that and what these relationships are going to look like. I'm not encouraging that you step away. What I would encourage is that you seek people that are compatible with you, that have similar interests, which are going to be self-growth. And again, you have to be careful, because if this is your spouse, I'm not saying seek another spouse, right? But it's also where you need to be an effective communicator and an encourager, not a finger pointer. It's how you approach that person that you're leveling up in your life and you'd like them to come with you, right? That I have goals and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people love their complacent, mediocre life, and there's nothing wrong with that because they get to. But the problem is, if your standards are higher and you've raised the bar in your life, you're going to witness that not everyone makes the cut anymore. And that's okay. If this sounds like you and you're on this path and you're feeling a little lost because no one is on this self-growth path with you, and you're feeling a little lonely, when they say that the extra mile is lonely, oh yeah, it is. It is. The extra mile is lonely. And it's really hard to find people that will join you on that extra mile. But if you are in this position, whether you're younger or you're middle-aged or you're older than I am, and you're finding you're in their place, well, it's never too late for self-growth. It's never too late to build your empire, right? It's never too late. I'll be building an empire till my dying day. God willing, He's there with me, right? And I'll take the punches because they're just opportunities for me to grow, because we don't grow when all is well. We grow from the punches. We grow from the discomfort, the pain, the having to overcome adversity, of being resilient, right? That's where we grow. We don't grow when all is status quo, right? So this is a good message, a good food for thought. I'm sure it really resonates with some of you, and I love working with women and men on their self-growth journey, but it's food for thought. I really encourage you to weigh in. What's been your observations if you are someone into self-growth? Do you find it a struggle with friendships, family members? What about with your partner, your significant other? Are you seeing a little bit of a disconnect there? I'd love for you to weigh in. A couple of things that I want to mention. Coming up, little less than 7 weeks, is 3-week intense. 21 days of habit formation. If you would like to join a community of women and men, I've had a couple of men join 3-week intense in a few of the segments. This would be a great opportunity for you to be with like-minded people. I'll have a link in the description box below this video where you can learn more about 3-week intense. This is my 2nd year running this program quarterly, and it's a huge success. I highly encourage that you get on that track, especially if you're building your empire. And then next week, I should be getting information out on a masterclass that I'm going to be teaching on time management skills to up-level your productivity, and that will be on time blocking. That will be on time blocking. So I will have more information on that next week. Be watching. Please be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletters. One comes out on Friday and one comes out on Monday. You're missing out on a lot of things if you're not getting my newsletter, so there will be a link to subscribe. And Instagram stories is my wheelhouse. I spend a lot of time there talking with you, my friend, just like this, on topics just like what I shared today. So be sure to be watching me there. Whenever I have a powerful, strong message, I save it to a highlight for that day, and then I clean those out weekly to put new messages in. So just thought I would share that. Happy Father's Day. If any gentlemen are watching, weigh in if you are. Let me know. I love to hear when the gentlemen are watching, but happy Father's Day, and just wishing you a beautiful weekend. I will be back next week with some great content, be sharing some grandparenting favorites now that our little baby Mac is a month old. And yeah, more on the masterclass that's coming up too. So stay tuned. That's all to come. Thanks for being here on this heavy hitter topic. Yeah, heavy hitter topic. All right, take care.